Brock Lesnar is Mr. SummerSlam. Everyone knows that. He's cool. Here's 10 of them. Pete Quinnell, 2023. In case you ever wonder what kind of hardcore wrestling analysis goes on in the PFK World Headquarters, that's about the extent of it. Can't say he's wrong though. Brock Lesnar is indeed Mr. SummerSlam and also cool. Brock has always put his working boots on when the biggest party of the summer rolls around. I guess he doesn't have partying boots. Somehow, that's unsurprising. Shawn Michaels holds the crown of Mr. WrestleMania for his consistent show-stealing efforts, but when it comes to WWE's Summer Spectacular, Brock Lesnar has been Mr. Main Event, closing out the show all but one time since his WWE return over a decade ago. He's cool. Here's 10 of them. I'm Tempest hailing from partsFUNknown, and these are the 10 greatest Brock Lesnar SummerSlam matches ever. But before we get on with that list, make sure of course that you like this video, subscribe so you can get us to our 250,000 subscriber goal that we're getting ever so close to every single week. You could be the 250,000th subscriber. Wouldn't that be neat? Dishonourable Mention, Brock Lesnar vs. Roman Reigns 2018. Considering there are 11 Brock Lesnar SummerSlam matches and this is a top 10 list, I felt compelled to shit on this stupid match for being the one to miss the cut. The title change we were told was coming 16 months earlier, didn't want to see then, and didn't want to see when the time came. Aside from Strowman being at ringside, there are very few things to separate this match from Roman and Brock at Mania 34, or Mania 38, or Crown Jewel. My god, this was a copy and paste feud. Number 10, Brock Lesnar vs. Randy Orton, 2016. Ah yes, the match with only one memorable moment, but oh my god, what a moment. 10 minutes of decent but not incredible WWE main event wrestling, and then Brock Lesnar deciding that actually the act of Randy Orton breathing was bothersome to him and he had to put a stop to it. Brock deciding to elbow Randy in the head until his brains turned to liquid and proceeding to paint the canvas with that liquid was certainly an interesting choice of a finish, the same way dousing yourself in lighter fluid and lighting yourself ablaze is an interesting way to stay warm in the winter. I am always going to be one to advocate for the referee stoppage finish. I think it's one of the best in wrestling, but usually I prefer there not actually be a fatality involved. Number 9, Brock Lesnar vs. Triple H, 2012. I have a bone to pick with this match simply because of the stupid commercial this spawned. A faux breaking news weather report warning of an F5 tornado in the area. Always made me sit bolt upright watching Raw. Are tornadoes common in Toronto? Not at all, but the news never lies. As for the match itself, it was pretty good. It is a Triple H WWE main event, so it may not have been the most action-packed match of the bunch, but because of a conversation between Triple H and Mike Chioda earlier in the show, this is sort of a halfway no DQ match, meaning we can all get a little bit more of the violence we needed in this grudge match. It also only goes 18 minutes. Only 18 minutes may sound strange, but this is a Triple H main event, so it's a miracle they got it under 25 minutes. It may not have been one of the most exciting matches of Brock's career, but it is a well-worked match that gave Brock the win he so desperately needed, having lost to John Cena upon his return. Number 8, Brock Lesnar vs. The Rock, 2002. The first match from Brock's first cup of coffee in WWE to make an appearance on this list is Brock's first SummerSlam match against The Rock. It is a surreal match to watch through today's eyes. Rather than seeing one of the biggest stars in combat sports with his own distinct suplex-driven style, you got 25-year-old, raw, unrefined strength and talent Brock. This match has one of the most famous crowd dynamics of its time, with the Long Island crowd having grown tired of The Rock's come-and-go nature, having only been back for a few weeks as undisputed champion with news that he was on his way back to Hollywood, and also his terrible, horrible, no good, very bad catchphrases of 2002. Anyone listening got a "How's Your Lips" shirt lying around? Some might think this crowd works against the match, but I disagree. It makes the match a bit more fun and serves as the launching point for the Hollywood Rock character we ended up getting in 2003, as well as a really interesting dynamic for Brock's first title win, who was also close to a babyface turn just a few months later. Number 7, Brock Lesnar vs. The Undertaker, 2015. The match that proved that their WrestleMania match sucked because of a concussion and not simply because Solomon Grundertaker was too old as some thought at the time. This was during The Undertaker's vengeful dick-kicking era, where he was determined to stop Brock from ever having more kids, and that sure played into the finish. The finish, while I enjoyed it at the time for its unique way of giving Brock Lesnar a visual win while The Undertaker still walked out with the W, it does make the match a bit more difficult to get into upon rewatch. It is incredibly hokey, and I know this is also the match where an undead warlock has a laughing fit with a UFC fighter, but every man has his limits, what can I say? Otherwise, this match is exactly what WrestleMania 30 should have been. Great pro wrestling wackiness mixed with legit violence, tied together by a guy who does MMA and a guy who watches a lot of MMA. Number 6, Brock Lesnar vs. Seth Rollins 2019. Another match with a very strange crowd dynamic. I know, I was there. Seth Rollins may have been the worst babyface in WWE during the summer of 2019, on and off camera. If you ignore the tragedy that was Seth Rollins' Twitter game in 2019 and simply focus on what was going on in WWE land, it wasn't much better. An intense lack of anything resembling babyface fire and some particularly bad booking had fans less than enthused when Seth tried to walk into SummerSlam to take back the Universal Championship from Brock Lesnar. He was heavily booed in Toronto, but credit where credit is due, he and Brock had the Scotiabank Arena behind Seth winning the title after a great match of Brock spinning Seth around by his bandages, superb selling, and a fantastic comeback. Seth's 2019 was a cursed time, and it wouldn't get better after this, but thankfully he can always point to the highlight of his year that was this main event win. Number 5, Brock Lesnar vs. Kurt Angle, 2003. The second and final SummerSlam match from Brock's first WWE tenure was his WrestleMania 19 rematch against Kurt Angle. Come to think of it, about half of the matches on this list are WrestleMania rematches in some way. Not mind-blowing that SummerSlam is the WrestleMania rematch show, but when it results in matches like this, hell yeah, run that shit back, DJ. The far less remembered and far less cursed of Brock and Kurt's pay-per-view singles matches is this one, now with Brock playing the heel against a babyface Kurt. Ain't nobody landing on their head in this match, and Kurt is in much better shape than he was heading into Mania, so what we got was this great match with its incredible heated finish. With Vince McMahon watching from ringside, Brock Lesnar tried to hit one final F5 only to be caught with an ankle lock. How do you reverse an F5 into an ankle lock, you ask? Well, if your name is Kurt Angle and you are within 2 feet of a human being, odds are you can wind up with an ankle lock applied in about 0.9 seconds. Brock taps out to a huge reaction. It might be better than WrestleMania, just like number 4, Brock Lesnar vs. Roman Reigns, 2022. A match that was without a doubt better than WrestleMania. Whereas nothing set Brock's 2018 match with Roman Reigns apart from any of their other many encounters, this one had a tractor. Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar are incapable of having an interesting singles match after WrestleMania 31. A last man standing match with loads of carnage and destruction and also a tractor? Yeah, that absolutely did the trick. People were all the way burnt out on seeing these two wrestle each other by this point, like Randy Orton and John Cena levels of burnt out, so the excitement factor might not have been at its highest going in, but my god, did they finally hit the sweet spot they had been seeking for so long with this match. Fun, violent, bombastic, and with 100% more tractor than basically every other wrestling match in existence. Also, when Roman catches that microphone, all the sauce in the world. Number 3, Brock Lesnar vs. John Cena, 2014. Today, if Brock Lesnar simply did 16 suplexes and won, there would be riots in the streets saying this man doesn't care about pro wrestling and how his style is tired and stale. In 2014, however, with John Cena on the receiving end of such a beating, that's a different story. I can't help but think about if this was the original plan of Brock doing this to Daniel Bryan, and how that would so not have worked even nearly as well. Brock effectively squashing John Cena to win the WWE Championship is one of the most unbelievable pieces of WWE booking I think I have ever seen. It was 1000% the right call, but to think that they actually went ahead and did it is such an achievement. Perhaps the greatest squash match of all time, and it was 15-time world champion John Cena on the receiving end of it. The perfect follow-up to the end of the streak. One of the most shocking SummerSlam matches ever, and the birth of Suplex City patent trademark copyright. Number 2, Brock Lesnar vs. Samoa Joe vs. Braun Strowman vs. Roman Reigns, 2017. As the wise philosopher Woody Harrelson once said in the critically acclaimed film Venom, there's gonna be carnage. He, of course, was talking about the main event of SummerSlam 2017. Cletus Cassidy, a supervillain of great taste. This match has grown to legendary status, with other WWE car crash hoss fights being unable to live their little lives without being compared to their superior big brother. The 4 biggest, beefiest boys abound, bashing brains, breaking backs, busting barricades. Brutally brilliant. Each of the folks involved were over in their own way, making for a Brooklyn crowd that was white hot and being fed non-stop destruction until Brock finally put Roman Reigns away with an F5. Paul Heyman was reportedly behind a lot of the producing of this match, and color me surprised that the man knows how to highlight the strengths of the top stars. This could easily be a lot of people's favorites, but I just rewatched both, and I think this one slightly pales in comparison to number 1, Brock Lesnar vs. CM Punk, 2013. CM Punk does not get enough credit for the Wrestler of the Year level campaign he went on in 2013 until WWE put a stop to that, putting Ryback back in Punk's path, but before that, it was nothing but great pay-per-view matches, with this being the best of the bunch, as well as the greatest match Brock Lesnar has ever had at SummerSlam. A fantastic mix of Brock's MMA-inspired violence and WWE Extreme Rules violence, Punk manages to get a modicum of payback on Paul Heyman before falling to an F5 on a chair. It's just a ridiculously fun match. Punk hits a GTS to Lesnar's gut because Punk knows about Brock's battles with diverticulitis. He watches UFC. Brock hadn't quite gotten his mojo running from a presentation standpoint yet, having spent a year feuding with Triple H, but this match gave Lesnar a dominant win in an all-time SummerSlam classic as Brock began to cement his legacy as the greatest SummerSlam performer in the show's 35-year history. And that's our list. What did you think of it? Let us know what your favorite Brock Lesnar SummerSlam match is down in the comments below, and make sure you check out this clip from last week's list right here. A lot of the time in recent years, the SummerSlam card would be thrown together before the show without much thought, despite being WWE's second biggest show of the year. This, of course, is your notification that you won't be seeing matches like Dean Ambrose versus Dolph Ziggler during the next 11 minutes. However, when WWE has a clear goal in mind, they can give us a SummerSlam build that would indeed convince you that this is the WrestleMania of the summer. Here's to more positive lists.